3 years or so has lapsed, but the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade has resurrected the Belize-Guatemala Partial Scope Agreement on Trade. The second of two consultations was held last week at Banana Bank Lodge to reacquaint the private sector with the possible benefits that Belize hopes to gain from this agreement at the onset of its implementation by the end of this year.
Erla Canton Coleman, acting director in the Office of the Directorate for Foreign Trade, stated in an interview with Belmopan Weekly that the proposal for such an agreement has been on the table for several years. But the process has recently gathered new momentum with significant progress being made on both sides, particularly on the Guatemalan side. Both sides are now on par with steps for formalization. Among other things, the consultations have helped to highlight the benefits of such an agreement.
What we're trying to do then is to, as I said before, remind private sector of what the agreement is about, alert them to the products that are going to benefit from preferences going into Guatemala. And these products, just to give you an idea, are primarily agricultural products and include citrus products, or orange concentrate, grapefruit concentrate, the actual orange fruit. It also includes tilapia fish, and it includes red kidney beans. There is a quota allocation for yellow corn and black beans, some cows and bulls, and some other grain products. So it will be something very beneficial for the private sector in terms of these exports getting preferences going into Guatemala.
Ambassador for Foreign Trade, His Excellency Adalbert Tucker, sees the agreement as a litmus test on our ability to capitalize on an excellent opportunity in our own neighborhood.
I think it's a very important thing when you consider that our neighbors in Central America have large markets. We are supposed to be able to reap some kind of benefits of the nearness, the closeness to that market. And consequently, the challenge for Belize is to be able to take this opportunity. If you can argue that you have difficulty taking this, then one can argue that you'd have greater difficulty taking markets that are even further. And so in a sense, Belize is confronted now. This is a stimulus for us then. To get through this, it would mean that we'd be able to pursue other markets even more effectively. This is a chance for us to work it out in a homegrown neighborhood. This is our neighborhood. These are the things that we have to work out in practice and then refine them, and then we can go further afield. So even as a person, you work at home first, neighbor-wise, and that's why we see it as a litmus test and as a stimulus right within this context of a global recession, that we can grow ourselves and learn to take the opportunities.
Although the consultations target the private sector, Mrs. Coleman explained that the public sector also has a critical role to play in the entire process.
In order for the Administrative Commission to understand the difficulties and the challenges that are being encountered in the implementation of the agreement, we need to get feedback from the private sector, because they're actually the ones who would be doing the trading and therefore would be familiar with the problems that may arise. So they have to feed it to us, and then we will speak with our Guatemalan counterparts, officials, in terms of trying to find resolution to these matters.
Although the signing was completed in 2006, ratification should be done by the end of this year, and implementation by both countries should take effect early next year. A new school building was inaugurated last week Monday, November 16th at Holy Ghost Primary School in Dangriga Town. The new structure replaces a building which was collapsing and posed physical danger to students. After assessment by engineers, the Ministry of Education had no choice but to move those students into a structure that was only to be used temporarily for a year. This was 2004, and finally the principal and students of Holy Ghost were able to rejoice at overcoming the many challenges faced and are now more than grateful for their new building.
Just when the principal and the community of Holy Ghost School was getting tired of holding on to the hope of getting a new school building, the government of Belize, with assistance from the Basic Needs Trust Fund, the Caribbean Development Bank, and the Canadian International Development Agency, jointly financed the project to build a new school building, which includes classrooms and a principal's office at a cost of $1.2 million. Area Representative and Minister of State in the Ministry of Health, Honorable Arthur Roches, expressed his appreciation on behalf of his constituency for the building that will benefit the children more than anyone else.
Like Ms. Gwen said, I'm a man of a few words. I think the job is done. One of Dangrega's biggest eyesore has been torn down. And I'm proud to see that there's a shell over there. I call it a shell because to our educators, that facilitates your work. That protects you from the elements, keep the kids away from distractions, and therein you mold the minds of our future leaders, as the mayor said, our anthropologists, our archaeologists, our future ministers of government and area representatives, our doctors, our nurses, and whatever we turn out to be with the help of God. So the most important thing to teachers, I believe, or to all of us, is what goes on inside those walls. We recognize the task you have because in the majority of us here, we are parents. And we know the task of rearing kids. And we pass this on to you for a significant portion of the day. So we owe you a sincere debt of gratitude.
Principal Yvonne Casimiro, in her opening remarks, recounted the experience that led to the celebration of the inauguration ceremony.
The building we had before, for those of us who were here, was dilapidated. It was no good, it was condemned. But due to the help of certain people, we got those temporary buildings. And we were supposed to be in there for a year. But we spent a lot of time, more than a year, because it was since 2004. And if you look at them, they are congested. If it rains, sometimes you get wet, and a lot of things. So we have suffered. But now the transformation has happened. It's right over there for all to see.
Although the new school building may have taken a little bit too long for some, it was surely worth the wait. The principal may have said it best as she remembers the comments from one of her students.
Our teachers, our students, our parents, everybody who had anything to do with this. Those of us who were patient enough to wait. Some of us who believed that something was going to happen. I think of times when I went to principal's meeting and they would say, Mr. Kai would say, Ms. Casimiro, please give a report about the building. And the other principals would laugh because I kept saying over and over, soon, 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 but our soon is now here. And like one of my students said, Miss, we went from the fairest building to the best building in the whole country.
This is a landmark stuff to us, and we should be proud of it. The descriptions have already been levied by Mr. Macmillan and Ms. Gwen and speakers before me, and I think it's a reality.
Constructed was a two-story building, 219 feet, 5 inches long, by 31 feet, 9 inches wide, including a 6 feet front veranda. The ground floor has 8 standard classrooms, a library, a male and a female bathroom. The second floor has 8 standard classrooms with a principal's office and a staff room and 2 stairways attached to the front veranda. The project is one of the largest implemented by the Social Investment Fund.